Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, may I know your name?
Yes, Yasomati Nandana Das.
Okay. So, can you tell us some?
Initiated here in Dallas by TKG, Tamal Krishna Goswami, in 1980, on the night of Rasa Leela, the full moon night in October here in Dallas.
Very nice. So, can you tell us some Prabhupada stories?
Well, I didn't get to meet Srila Prabhupada, although I did. I got a Bhagavad Gita from a guy named Bhakti Tim, and it may have been the only Bhagavad Gita he ever sold. But I was immediately fascinated. Who are these people? This is my philosophy that I believe in life, and somebody put it into a book. This is amazing. I got to find these Hare Krishnas. I had no idea what they looked like. So when I turned 18, I got the book when I was 17 in the summer, and when I turned 18, I snuck out the window, ran away from home to find the Hare Krishnas. So all I had was the address for the Watsika Street Temple in Los Angeles. So I drove 2,000 miles in 2.5 days or 3 days to get to Los Angeles. I get there on a Saturday night, and all I see is the bacchanal of Sunset Boulevard and the most incredible decadence all around me. So I stay in a hotel that night, and the next day morning, Sunday morning, I got to find the Hare Krishnas. I call the police. I go find police officers. I look at a map in a gas station for hours. Cannot find Watsika Boulevard. It's a giant map. Like, well, I don't know what the heck's going on. So I called my mom because I knew she'd be worried because I ran away from home and she was crying, and I thought, okay, well, I'll get home. I get in my car and I drive back to Milwaukee, 2,000 miles, non-stop. So I get home. Of course, nobody believes I actually went to California and back in 5 days. But I learned a very valuable lesson. Krishna's not that easy to find, and I can go for long periods of time without sleep, which served me very well later in my devotional career. So I had the genius idea to write a letter. So I put $20 bills in a letter, $20 bill, and I sent it to Los Angeles. And a few weeks later, I get back some japa beads and neck beads and a Back to Godhead magazine and a Prabhupada meditations tape. So here I was, an 18-year-old long-haired rock musician, driving around in my car, blasting Srila Prabhupada's Krishna meditations tape, my favorite song being Yasomati Nandana. I would sing it loudly, imitating Prabhupada's voice. Yasomati Nandana Brajabara Nagana Gokula. So I learned the bhajan before I ever met the devotees. And I immediately became a vegetarian as well, which there were no vegetarians in Milwaukee in 1976, 77. That's the land of sausage and beer. So try to be a sober vegetarian in Milwaukee. It's like trying to stay cool in a nuclear firestorm. So anyway, somehow I managed, and I had to find the Hare Krishnas. So I had an address. The BTG had articles about farm communities. So they had an article about the new Taliban farm in Mississippi. So a few months later, now it's the spring. It's April of 1977, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't take this material life anymore. I got to find the Hare Krishnas again. This time I have an address, or I'll find an address. So I call New Taliban on the list of farm communities, and they don't answer the phone. So I call a few hours later. So the next day I'm like, I gotta go, I gotta leave. It's the weekend. I gotta sneak out of the house again before all my parents are at the casino or wherever the heck they were. So I call New Vrindavan. They answered the phone, and I said, yeah, I wanna come and be a devotee. What do I need? And they said, well, you need the desire to serve Krishna and a sleeping bag. I should have brought the sleeping bag, but it was cold in April in New Vrindavan in 1977. So I stayed at the old farm where the morning shower was a bucket, and you broke the ice. You broke through the ice and poured it over your head. That was your shower. So here I was a skinny 18-year-old, and New Vrindavan was austere. We're the oat water and coarse chapatis. Sunday feast landed on an Ekadasi, so the one feast I was waiting for was like, potatoes and shock. But at that Sunday feast, the devotee I was working with was disappointed. He's going, there's a devotee here, and he usually speaks for a while after the Sunday feast. He knows things like no other devotee, because he's been a devotee for a long, long time. So like, oh, cool. So I get near this devotee, he's talking for hours. Anyway, that was Radhanath Prabhu at the time, Radhanath Maharaj. So he was there in New Vrindavan, and that my one chance to be there for about 5 days, I was able to take darshan with him, listen to him tell his stories. So I told him that this June, when I met him at Rath Yatra, I gave him my last piece of 26th Avenue floor that I had, and he just embraced me for a long time, and he was so happy to hear that story from 46 years ago. Anyway, I could go on forever.
Thank you.
But he made my life interesting, and I think it would be a good book. But except I don't want to. The problem with telling your own stories is that it sounds like self-aggrandizement. You know, well, I'm talking about myself, but I know people. I know I have friends who are like, "Yeah, so would you just shut up?" But I don't know. Some devotees like to hear the stories.
Yeah, no, actually, the stories, it might inspire other people.
That's what I hope. They inspire me.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't me, I'd still be, wow, that's an interesting story. So I was talking about Shashishi Radha Nilamadava. TKG told me I had to build a temple, build an altar for them. Surabir Palyantam Swami, he was a Dutch architect who met Srila Prabhupada at a Pandala program in India in early 70s. So he was searching for spiritual life. So he meets Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada says, "So what do you do?" And he said, "Well, I'm an architect." Prabhupada said, "Oh, so you're decorating dead bodies." You know this part of the story? Fascinating story. So you should be building buildings for Krishna. So Surabi Swami, when I'm a Bhakta John, I go to the farm in Oklahoma. Who is there? Surabi Swami. He's a friend of Tamal Krishna Goswami. He was a very cultured, older Dutch gentleman. Just a wonder. I only was able to spend maybe a few weeks with him. I would just do simple service for him, drove him a little bit. But I saw all these architectural plans for Juhu and for he designed Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan. That's his design. So he was Prabhupada's architect. He designed all of our big early temples. So there I am. I'm looking at all these drawings, and I'm like, "Oh, Maharaj, so you can draw for Krishna?" And he's going, "Yes, you can do anything for Krishna." I'm like, "Wow, that'd be really cool to draw or build temples." I was just a brand new devotee at this point. I didn't know what we did or what our movement even was, basically. So this is all the miracle of what happens later in life. I had a very tragic story, which has a romantic twist, which is going to be a great story if I ever do write my memoirs. Tamal Krishna Goswami used to call me the All-American boy. And then when I disappointed him, he would go, "I thought you were the All-American boy." And I said, "Yeah, Gurudev, I am. My America was very dark. The time and place that I grew up in, I mean, there were people next door shooting needles in their arm and gunfire. I was shot at 3 times as a teenager. One crazy person, just boom, 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 boom. Bullets are hitting the ground like, jay. So it was kind of an intense environment. So he thought I was the All-American boy, and yeah, that was America. So when I got the Bhagavad Gita, I was like, I got to find these people. Get me out of here. This is crazy. We're like the end of the Jetsons, where George is on the treadmill. This is a great metaphor for the modern world. George is on the treadmill going around and round and round. He yells, "Jane, stop this crazy thing." So that's like the wheel of samsara, or a crazy technological world that we live in. And we're all screaming, "Krishna, stop this crazy cycle." So that's what it was like for me. And I forgot where I was. Oh, Houston. So I took my mother-in-law to Vrindavan to die, to pass away. And I was briefly married here in Dallas to a young lady. Her name was Kalindi. Her mother was Janaki, and Janaki started the temple room. She started the gift shop in a sense. She made the gift shop successful, the first person. TKG also said one time that she was his most advanced disciple, because she was a very serious devotee. So I made it my goal to get her. I was a newly married man. I was working full time in the temple. I was trying to make a living on the side, and I had a dying mother-in-law who died of cancer, taking her to the hospital, doing all this stuff with her. I didn't know that her daughter didn't want to be a devotee. She was a devotee because her mother had brought her here with her. So I sell every last thing. I get Janaki to Vrindavan to pass away, and in the process I meet Sarabi Swami in Punjabi Bagh, and he gives me a piece of paper, with this drawing on it. He goes, "This is the Houston Temple." We'll get back to this later. This was my plans. So now I have 5 months to build the altar. I have a piece of 9 by 11 paper which says 1 inch equals a foot. And the $37,000 Shringasan is coming from India, and it has to fit perfectly with 1 inch to spare between the steps. No pressure. There's another theme in my devotional career. No pressure. And by the way, you have to build it without sleep or prasad, because
You are the one who built this one?
I did work here for 2 years on this temple. Yeah.
I'm lucky actually. I'm visiting from India.
So nice.
I want to spend my New Year with Krishna. I'm a devotee of Krishna.
Wow.
So I took a Uber and came here.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your name, Adiji?
I'm Radhika.
Radhika, well, yes. Nice name. Radhika.
So
Radhika Devi Dasi.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy to see you, meet you.
You're melting my heart.
The one who is part of bringing up this meeting and bringing so many devotees. There's no place.
Those early years, sometimes was so austere. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have any money to work with. We didn't have a congregation. We were just winging it, and you could see how Krishna just protected us over and over again. And when I was remodeling the roof here on the sanctuary building above us, and it was 100 degrees out. I couldn't get men to work. It was too hot.
Yeah.
So I finally found a few Mexican men who were just like, they were made out of iron. And we worked all night because we couldn't work during the day. It was too hot. So I'm up there in the dark. I never did a roof before. And I'm up there and all of a sudden I fall through the roof. Above the sanctuary there, I was in the corner where I would have gone.
Yeah.
So I catch myself on one leg and my elbows. I fell right between the rafters. And there's all these nails. And these nails just ripping into my legs. And I'm lying up there going, oh, jeez, oh, no, what a way to die. And the guys are like, oh, are you okay? I said, no, don't stay away. You can't get near me. Because I didn't, So finally, I'm like, oh, how do I get out of this? My legs are stuck with nails, Like somehow I was able to get up and, brush myself off. And the next day was another day. I was bummed out I ruined my blue jeans, so they only had like 2 pair. The cuts were no big deal. I was young and strong. Yeah. So, anyway, that was over and over again, things like that. The wiring in this part of the building, okay, it used to be a big air conditioner over there, big, thick cables, and it was disconnected. So we needed to change the power because we wanted to change the functionality in this building. Well, we couldn't pay $800 to have the electric company shut off the power. We didn't have that kind of money. So I did it myself at night, live wires. Right here in this hallway, over in that area. I had the big cables coming in. I wore rubber gloves and boots. Okay, focus. These cables, pull them out, cut them off, put them together. Like, don't slip. So my friend Jaidev, he's the only devotee who knew about it. I didn't want to tell anybody. So I said, yeah, okay, Jaidev, I'm going to do this at like 2 a.m. It'd probably take an hour or so. So I just finished up. Okay. And he comes running in. Chazo! And he grabs me. He goes, you're alive. So I just had a dream you got electrocuted.
You had a dream?
Just another day back then. Yeah, so one night I'm sleeping in Houston. One of these, again, working all night, day and night. And I gotta get some sleep. I go to my truck. We had a warehouse in the 3rd ward, the devotees. And I'm like, I gotta get some sleep. So I'm lying in my truck. I get an hour's sleep or something. Kaboom! Oh, jeez. And the car runs drives up. What the hell? He must have ran into me. All right, no big deal. I go get another hour's sleep. I get up, I do my service. And I drive over to the temple for Mangalarti, and I close the door of the car. The whole door is caved in. So somebody come up with a shotgun, and my head was on this side of the door. Boom, blew the door in while I was sleeping on the front seat of the truck. I think that was the third time I got shot at.
On the road?
I was just in Houston at the devotee warehouse where we were doing a business, and we had I just was working for I was a brahmachari, but yeah, so things like that would happen. It was just like there was always there's a razor's edge. God, I had so many stories like that. Out of this altar, and I got a piece of paper. And I got a little piece of molding, and I made a cast of the molding, and then made copies of that, and built the altar, mixed 100 bags of concrete, and poured them inside, because the deities are going to stand on. Nila Madhava, he's 6'2". You've seen the Houston temple, the new temple?
I haven't seen you.
Okay, well, did you see the old one?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah, when it was that ivory color. See, because I wanted to do something different. I was like, oh, well, everything is dark wood. Let's. This was the mid '80s, and I'm like, let's Krishna shoot. Because in Vedic architecture, the architects are given a lot of leeway because everything should be special and different for Krishna. So I thought, let's make it look like ivory.
Yeah.
Of course, not everyone was thrilled with my decision at the time, but TKG gave me, he gave me, so I did it. So I would work day and night and sleep, and then toward the end I would work day and night, day and night, day and then sleep. So every third day I would get a little sleep sometime for the final few months. There was so much to do in such a short period of time. And then the Shringasan came, and sure enough it fit. And I had a little help. There was a devotee named Gopal Prabhu, my godbrother, and without him it never would have gotten done. He was invaluable, but there was not enough people to do a project like this in 5 months. So it's the night before Janmashtami, and they're going to do the removal of the ghosts ceremony, where they paint demonic faces on watermelons. Maybe you're familiar with this. So you paint demonic faces, and you invite the ghosts in the building to enter these, and then you take them outside and smash them, chase the ghosts away. So I don't want to mention the devotee because he's very prominent, but his son was there as well, and they were painting the demonic faces, and he spills a quart of paint, black paint, right down the front of the altar the night before. So I'm like, okay, I gotta clean this up. I clean that up. So the next day, the electrician is there. He's wiring the air conditioning. Okay, I'm from Nila Madhava. I'm doing something. All of a sudden, there's a leg sticking through the ceiling above Radha Nila Madhava. Oh man, the electrician put his leg right through the ceiling. So I got to patch that hole. And I haven't slept for months. But somehow or other, everything comes together. And that evening before TKG, before Janmashtami, the next day, Janmashtami Eve, just at sunset, Tamal Krishna Goswami arrives, and he's with Dhanadhar Swami, who is very, very, very dear to me, and I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him in New York. Just a wonderful devotee. But that was my first meeting with Dhanadhar Maharaj, and Tamal Krishna showed up and he sees me, and he knows I'm beat. So he did something really, really rare. He comes up and he puts his arm around me. He puts his arm around me and he says, "Yaso, was it worth it?" I'm crying just thinking about the story. So, yeah, of course it wasn't worth it. It was all worth it. And strap, and I built a ramp. And I was in the center. So if Nila Madhava falls, I got to die. So there, Brahma Samhita was there, Jayadev was there, Gopal, a few devotees, and we get Nila Madhava on that original little altar. And you know, it's tight space. Those arches are small. So 25 years goes by, and they build a new temple. And I'm in New York, and I've been there now. I had some nice pastimes with devotees. I did some interesting things. Brooklyn Temple, 22nd Avenue, the punk rock scene. But I also wasn't in the best consciousness because by now I'd been working and just was behind on my rounds and wasn't a very strict devotee. But they kept calling me and asking, you have to come and move Shri Radha Madhava to the new altar. Me? Really? Can't you find somebody else? No, they insisted. And I'm like, okay, well, Krishna he's asking me to do it. So I pull myself together and I get here, I get to Houston, and I'm terrified. And I walk into the temple, and the first devotee I see is Radha Krishna Prabhu, my god brother Radha Krishna Prabhu.
Okay.
Really wonderful Indian devotee. He's an Ishnei guru. He's just real. It's amazing that the first person I meet is Radha Krishna Prabhu, and I said, Prabhu, I'm terrified. He goes, we're all terrified. I believe what had happened recently around that time period is that the deities had shattered. And they were moving some deities somewhere, I believe in India, and they broke. So this time, when I was moving around the second time, it was like Aladdin's lamp. I said, oh, I need this. It was there. Oh, I need that. It was there. I had all these, anything I asked for was just appeared. And I had a crew of 7 men who we did a rehearsal with 1,200 pounds of concrete on a hand truck, especially in reinforced. And I wouldn't touch the deities until we had a perfect rehearsal run. I had men who were just Anup, his name is, I believe, his job was just to put a block in front of the hand truck if something went wrong. So anyway, it was just so, and they built a long, instead of going up a steep ramp about this big, well, they built me a ramp that like, half a mile long, real gentle slope. So we get ready to move. Radharani. And by the way, I didn't get to sleep the entire night because they were glued to the altar. Radha and Nila Madhava were heavily epoxied to the altar with metal shims stuck in there just to make it extra difficult to cut through. Now I knew this, and I told my godbrother, who's Ras Prabhu, they're epoxied to the altar. Oh no, don't worry, we got it taken care of. They're glued to. No, don't worry about it. So I show up that afternoon, and they're still glued to the altar. so I've got hydrochloric. I'm asking again, whatever I ask for, hydrochloric acid, rubber gloves. How do we get through this epoxy? So Rasa Kendra starts getting me these Japanese thin saw blades, and sure enough, we start to be able to saw. So after hours and hours and hours, and by the way, there's 2 camera crews filming the whole operation. The Department of Deity Worship there overseeing everything. And they're doing all the RTs and offering food. And I'm working with hydrochloric acid. All at the same time. No pressure. No pressure. Oh, and tomorrow morning, this is like midnight. Tomorrow morning we're going to move them.
Yeah.
So no pressure. He's still Krishna.
Yeah.
And you can't let your mind, which is why I've never been a pujari, because I don't have the nerves, and I'm kind of clumsy. But yeah, he was a little bit more. He wanted. I won't tell you that story because it's a little bit too esoteric, and really I'll sound like a sadhya. But suffice it to say, Nila Madhava was like, don't lose focus for 2 seconds. There was one moment where there was less than 2 seconds from catastrophe. If I hadn't been just paying attention to the finest detail. So Nila Madhava gets on the altar as well, and they're to the side until we put them in place. They're facing each other on the altar, which you don't see Radha and Krishna facing each other. So everyone who was present at that moment, they all later said like, we felt that. They were like greeting each other, and now they're going into place. So I had a nervous breakdown. As soon as they were on the altar, I have to run. I can't keep it together. So I run to the pujari room, and I'm crying in the pujari room. I'm like, I was so
I think you had that energy
oh, it was so
gone in you. Yeah.
It was so stressful.
Yeah.
So I had to write a letter to accept the service. So I spent a lot of time like saying exactly from my heart about I'll accept the responsibility, but without the blessings of the devotees, this is not going to be possible. Well, I'm not the young man I was then.
Yeah.
I don't have the physical strength.
Yeah.
So only if I get the blessings of the devotees will this happen. So I'm in the pujari room crying, and I'm like, okay, I got to get some sleep now. So I snuck out the back door, the old pujari room. But as I left the back room, Radha Swami and Giriraj Swami were standing there, and the sun was coming in behind them, and their robes were glowing, and they looked like two demigods. And I can only assume that they just wanted to say thank you, in a sense. So I paid my obeisances and I stood up, and Giriraj Maharaj said, "When we read your letter, we knew everything was going to be okay." And I was like, "Wow, that's everything is the mercy of the Vaishnava. Krishna's mercy comes through his devotees." So that's my takeaway. I hope this doesn't sound like a whole lot of self-aggrandizing. I'm describing my little tiny fragment in this greater story, but there's so many hundreds and hundreds of devotees who all did their parts to make this happen. Maybe because I'm a drama queen, I got the dramatic part. Or at least I like to tell the story in a dramatic way, because Krishna is the source of all drama, of all of romance, of everything comes from everything interesting and beautiful and wonderful. So devotees' lives can be interesting and beautiful and wonderful.